Hey, welcome to Widow Too Soon. This is Mark Massaro. I am here with my friend and co-host, as always, the one and only Michelle Bader.
Like you
What's
were
up,
reading.
Michelle?
It
I know,
seemed like
I
you
was
were reading
trying.
notes, like you couldn't remember my name. You're like, the one
Yes.
and only.
What is her name?
Yes,
Michelle
it's gonna be Eversole. So,
Bader? Is it Bader?
yep,
Bader.
Bader.
What's up? How are you? I just try to switch it up,
Yeah,
It's
good.
funny because when we start recording, I don't think about what I'm going to say. I just start
I
saying dumb
know.
stuff. So.
And we used to have it all laid out, like step one, step two. Well, you didn't, but I kind of had a fit if it wasn't all like we gotta have it ready. Now it's so much more fun. And if you go back and listen to the first ones, it's so much more scripted.
Oh, yeah.
This is way better. So thank you for those of you who have hung on since episode 1 all the way to 61.
No kidding. 61?
Yeah, that's where we're at today.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
That's crazy talk.
It's crazy.
That's awesome. That was I don't know if you remember that.
No,
that was an episode of The Simpsons.
Oh,
I know a lot of people didn't watch that show. I did.
Luke did. He loved it.
I was one of those bad kids.
Oh yeah. And
I mean, like, that's crazy talk.
Like,
and it was this Indian guy named Crazy Talk.
Anyway. Okay. So yeah, it came out when I was like in 6th grade. I think I wasn't allowed to watch it, but I'm talking like recently, a few years ago, like Luke loved it. He would record The Simpsons and watch them and you would hear him laughing so loud at night and like just absolutely loved it. So yeah.
That's funny. I haven't watched it in a long, but I watched it as a kid. I also, it's funny. I've realized in my adult life that like for my age group, it was like really weird that my mom used to let me listen to Married with Children or watch Married with Children.
I didn't get to watch that.
Oh my gosh. Like I swear, I feel like everybody I've talked to, they were like, oh no, we weren't allowed to watch that. I
wasn't allowed
to. Really? Like, oh yeah, no, I put it on. Gosh. And it's crazy for me to think back at that because gosh, I must have been, so I remember where we lived. I must have been 10 years old.
Wow.
Gosh, maybe even younger than that. That's like Alexis's age.
Yeah, would you let her watch that?
Oh my gosh, no way. My mom was terrible. She's like, whatever, just don't bother me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, what was I talking about? No. I don't know.
Maybe you were gonna like ask me what I've been up to.
Yes, that's what was written down here next. Michelle, what have you been up to lately?
Let me pull out my script and read it word for word. Well, actually, lots of stuff because it's been Thanksgiving weekend and it doesn't bring the grief like it used to, which is awesome, which we'll get more into that in a little bit. My son Hayden came home from college, so that was the first exciting thing, picking him up Friday night, like the week before Thanksgiving, and like just doing tons of fun stuff. I surprised my kids. Well, no, I had planned it with them. But I asked them if they'd still want to go to Great Wolf Lodge because that was like a thing when they were little. We went there with Luke all the time and they said yes. So, they don't love it like they used to, but I love it because they're totally independent now. It's not like when they're little and I had to be there every second, so I did all the water slides with them. We did the hot tub, we did the arcade, and then I was like, okay, you're free to wander. So they just like hung out and we watched, a movie when they came back and it was fun.
Nice. That's cool.
And just like having Hayden home, just watching my kids interact and but it's hard, like he's an adult now, so it's like, okay, we still have to have rules, so we're gonna have to figure everything out before the summer or the next time he comes home, Christmas, like what the rules are. And his truck's in storage, so he's using my car, so we had to kind of work that out, and it's just different that he's an adult now, so I can't be like, need to know everything. I'm like, I'd still like to know when you think you'll be back and like all of that stuff.
I mean, if he's staying in your house and
he's so that was kind of a problem. Yeah, that was a little bit of a problem, but we'll work on it for next time.
There you go.
But yeah, having him home, let's see. We got a Christmas tree the day before Thanksgiving. Never done that.
Wow, nice.
It was because Hayden had to leave the day after, like early, and there was only one Christmas tree farm open, but it was wonderful. My parents went with us, had a great time. Let's see, there's like so much that happened. Unfortunately, I didn't get to spend it with Joel. He wanted to be with his son and his family in Boston, and I needed to be home for Hayden to come home. So we have kids that we need to be there for. So we weren't together, but of course we talk like 100 times a day. So it's good. Literally. when we can, but it's a little hard when he's out of town. But something super, super exciting is I went wedding dress shopping and I got a
Nice.
dress. I said yes to the dress. So
Nice.
super fun. Honestly, the first day I went, I had a little grief. It was kind of like when Joel and I looked at rings for the first time. It just flashed back to first marriage. And so it was a little bit weird because when you buy a wedding dress, you don't ever think the person I'm going to marry is going to die. And so I was trying to explain that to Joel, like how it kind of brought grief and kind of a little bit of fear. Like I had no idea before, like, what if I have no idea now? And you just have to let go of that and not stay in that moment. So that was a
But
good
like
day.
we've said, because a lot of people probably relate to that, like
Yeah.
we've said, it's worth it. Even if,
Yep.
in however long, in years time, but let's say you do lose Joel early, it'll still be worth it.
Yes, it
It'll
is.
still be worth it to have the love again. And
1,000,000%.
anyways, but go on.
Let's see. I met up with a friend that we used to be coworkers and we ran into each other in church and then we went to coffee and she hadn't, I mean, literally it's been 5 or 10 years. So I went through I cried like, cause she was crying a lot cause she hadn't seen me. She knew Luke and like was part of like the beginning of our marriage. That was kind of the time period. And so like she was crying a lot. So I cried because I explained his death and just kind of went, I was like, whoa, where's this coming from? But I definitely was feeling the moment. I was explaining to my kids with him at the end and how that was. And so and I was showing her videos, like she hadn't seen the video of like Luke giving me the ring. She'd never heard that story. So I had to show her that one. Then I showed her like the joy though. And here's when Joel gave me a ring and, just went through all the roller coaster of the last few years with her. But I felt it, but it's okay. It's okay to feel it. What we feel, we can heal. You don't ever want to stuff it down. So yeah, that's a little bit of what's happened in the last few weeks. How about you?
I also got up my Christmas tree, but that was actually in mid-October.
That's right. Nice.
So I made, for those of you that are friends with me on Facebook, you saw my post that I made
a long time ago.
That I had recently I made one because the day after Thanksgiving is finally the day that I'm not crazy for having.
Oh yeah, I think I saw that. Yeah.
And I mentioned that I said I'd like to welcome the rest of you to the Christmas season. Because I enjoyed a Halloween Christmas, a Thanksgiving Christmas, and now I'm waiting for Christmas.
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't ever have anybody come over to my house. I'm in this new state. Like I love Christmas. I'm bringing out my Christmas tree. So anyways, I did get to spend Thanksgiving with my cousin and his family. I say my cousins, but technically the husband is my second cousin. Our grandfathers were brothers.
Okay.
And it's his wife, but I just call them both my cousin.
Yeah.
And so we spent Thanksgiving together. They also moved here to Tennessee, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And let's see. I actually had something kind of sad last night. Last night when we were recording this. So I came into my daughter's room, my kids' room, to say goodnight to them.
Yeah.
And Alexis was like crying, like really hard. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? And she hasn't like had grief or anything in a long time. So it really caught me off guard that when I, and she didn't talk about it for a minute. So I just hugged her and we just hugged for like, I don't know, 5 minutes or something. And then I started getting the feeling. And then she finally said, like, I'm just thinking about mommy.
Oh.
And so we talked about it for like an hour. And
like it was memories and stuff.
Well, I started being more real with them than I have been. And just started saying that, like mommy went through a lot and and that, I shared some of the stuff that and the different ways that I tried to save her and and just wanted to like explain it to her like a grown up but I also explained to her that like it's always okay to cry. You don't ever need to feel like it's been too long to cry or anything like that. You can always miss mommy. And then we prayed and we asked God to tell mommy a bunch of stuff for us, and so I'm very careful with that because I don't want to be anti-biblical or anything, but we can ask for anything in Christ's name. And I'm not praying to Lacey. I'm not talking to Lacey.
Right.
But I am asking God, I'm praying to God, and I'm asking him to tell Lacey things for us.
Yeah.
And I can't find anything biblical that I feel is wrong with that.
Yeah. I agree.
And, you know, maybe he might be thinking like it doesn't work that way, Mark. And, you know, and that's okay. But I don't feel like I'm sinning, you know
Right,
what I mean?
no.
Because we're not supposed to try to communicate with the dead and things like that. And so I don't feel like I'm doing that, but I just feel like I'm asking in Jesus's name for God to tell Lacey things for us.
I
And
like
to say
that.
we miss her and we love her, and that she was a great mommy and a great wife. Please tell her this, tell her that, you know. So anyways, that was pretty tough, but also I wanted to share it because I know some of our listeners also have small children and
Mhm.
might go through those things. And it was one of those, you know, when you ever like deal with a situation and sometimes you feel like you handled it incorrectly and other times you feel like
Mhm.
you handled it well. It was one of those ones I felt like looking back, like I handled it really well, which I was
Mhm.
thankful for, because that's a very
Yeah.
delicate, you know. But I just felt like, you know, I mean, I had her busting up laughing by the end of the, you know, the conversation. And,
Yeah.
you know, I told her some silly jokes at my own expense. And, you know, like there's nothing my kids love more than hearing daddy make fun of himself.
Yeah.
So, you know, it ended up all good and everything, but just wanted to share with people that if you come across something like that, to, you know, not be afraid to speak the truth with them and tell them you understand. And I told them that I also, you know, I got a chance to share with Alexis that I was like, well, you guys didn't know this, but you know, I used to have to go to, you know, and I'm just gonna get grown up on us all real quick. But you know, like I was speaking in kid language so they would think it was funny. But I said I used to pretend that I would go poop so that I could cry in the bathroom. And they just thought that was like the funniest thing ever.
That's
And,
hilarious.
you know, and she's like, I would have known. And I'm like, no, you guys, you know, or I'd turn on the shower and I'd say, I'm going to take a shower, but I really was just sitting on the toilet crying, you know. And I'm like, but I had to hide it from you guys and she's all, because you didn't want us to be sad and to see how bad it was. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. She's so smart.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I didn't want to show you guys how bad it really was and how afraid I was, you know. And I was like, also, I couldn't show that to mommy. I needed mommy to stay positive and to, you know, to think that, you know, daddy's got this under control. And, you know, and, but I was terrified. And,
Yeah.
but I had to hide that from everybody. And so I was like, you guys didn't even know it, but I just wanted her to know that like her feelings are okay. And that I feel, even
Yes.
as a grown up, I feel those
Right.
same things, you know? And so anyways, that was just, you know, something I felt like I wanted to share. It's not the most, positive thing, but it's real, you know.
Oh,
It's
that
real.
is
It's something
real.
we still go through 2 years later, you know, 2.5
Right.
years later almost.
You know,
So
something along those lines, interesting, like holding it together, all that stuff. It was March, so 2 months before Luke passed away. He was like, do you even care? Because I tried to hold together so much, like not crying in front of him. He's like, do you care? I'm like, yeah. And then I cried in front of him. But it was just interesting that I was trying so hard that he wasn't even sure I cared.
I
So
totally get that. I mean, Lacey never said anything like that to me, but I was afraid that she would think that. And I totally get that. And that's tough
yeah.
because you do need to, you know, because my goal, I had this, you know, anybody who was around back then knows all about the whiteboard. I had this huge,
Yeah.
you know, 2 foot by 4 foot, whatever it was, whiteboard. And I had all these, you know, all her medicines on there and the schedule of all of her medicines. And then I had like little note sections and then a big section on the bottom that was for, you know, I would put like uplifting things on there.
Yeah.
And so I'd put like a new Bible verse every day. I'd wake up and, you know,
nice.
change the Bible verse on her whiteboard. And then I also had these check marks for things to accomplish every day. And they were like, you know, read scripture, you know, try to eat X amount of calories, whatever they were. But always at the bottom was laugh and smile. Those were always 2 separate check marks those were my goals. And so, I mean, as the listeners might imagine, I tell pretty corny jokes. So
really, I wasn't sure.
It was always my, you know, and I did it though. I'm proud to say that, you know, until the end, when she was really confused, that I made her laugh and smile every day. And so those
That's
were my goals. My
awesome.
goals were to keep her happy,
Oh.
and so like I couldn't let her see what I was going through,
Mhm.
She had her own stuff she was going through. She didn't need it. And she was so loving and caring that it broke her heart every time she saw that I was hurting. Every
Oh.
time she saw that I was afraid or scared, or well, I guess that's the same word. But I'm afraid or like, like scared. But when she saw that I was either of those two things or just that I was hurting in any way, she would like break inside, and she'd say like, I'm so sorry that you're having to watch this happen to your wife. And I'm like, no, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like we got this. Don't talk like that. We got this, and
Yeah.
so anyways, but I will go ahead and segue into today's episode topic so that we can sort of, run away with that. Because the last time we did this was a year ago, approximately. And we've gained a lot of listeners since then. A lot of you have lost your spouses since then.
Yeah.
And
true.
maybe you haven't gone back and listened, but we did an episode titled Surviving the Holidays, but now we're doing Hope for the Holidays.
Hope. Yes.
So Michelle, would you like to start us off with, hold on, let me read my notes here. Mrs. Bader. No, what do you think about that? What are your thoughts about the holidays and how it's changed?
Yeah,
and,
it's definitely changed.
all that stuff.
So I know we're both coming upon our third set of holidays with our loved ones. Crazy. Like it's actually gone really fast. I remember I texted you last week that it's been 2.5 years on the 23rd. It was like, whoa, right. It's 2.5 years. How am I here? But yet my world is so different, but in a positive way as far as how I'm feeling from where I was 2.5 years ago. So the first holidays were so sad. Like I felt like I wasn't functioning very well. I mean, I was doing okay, let's say May, June, July, August, September, October, like 5 to 6 months out with the holidays. And, but I was not nearly where I am today. I remember we went to Great Wolf Lodge first Thanksgiving. I went with my parents and my kids, and it was to do something completely different. I was like, I'm not doing Thanksgiving. And, it was so sad. I remember like being at the water park and watching all these families walk by and getting so upset. Like, why can't I have a whole family? And it was like grieving for myself and for my kids. Like, I want them to have their dad here. I want to have a complete family. Like, that's what I want. And I remember just crying a lot and just like, I didn't love it. Back up to that first Halloween, we'd always go to a pumpkin patch with Luke, like the same one since the kids were little. We that year went to the same one, and it was a horrible experience because it just like, and my kids were getting older, so they didn't love it as much. And it was just, the hole was so big that he wasn't there. So what that helped me do, it didn't work for me to go to the same place, but it helped me decide for Christmas, we're going to a different tree farm than we normally, and we haven't gone back to that same one. Like, let's keep those memories with Luke and let's do something different. So for me, that helped. That might be something that helps you, is if you think it's going to be painful to go back, maybe choose a different place, make new memories. That was very helpful. But those first holidays, and then of course, Christmas, like Luke was like Christmas guy. And like even watching movies up till Christmas was difficult because that was his thing. We always watch the same movies every year. And we still keep that tradition. We call them like the main Christmas movies, like Santa Claus 1, 2, 3, Home Alone 1, 2, 3, like all of these ones that are like the ones. And then we watch other ones too, but we have the main ones that we do. So, but I remember just even watching the movies crying, like he should be here watching these with us. And then the first Christmas, honestly, was a week. I cried so much. Because it was like where he would sit. It was just like everything was so obvious he wasn't there. And then the hardest thing for me was going to my in-laws, to Luke's parents. And there was like an empty seat. I mean, not literally, but where he would normally be, he always sat by me at the table. And it was like everybody ended up crying that day because it was such an obvious hole. So fast forward to where I am now and about to experience the third, it's completely different. And it is not, because a lot of people think it's because I have Joel. That's why you're happy. No, now I'm like, no, a year ago I wasn't dating and I was good. It's Oh wait, I was dating Joel. Well, we had just started dating. Totally forgot. 2 years ago, the first Christmas. I mean, that was the hard one, but my point is, it's not just that I have Joel, like he'll never replace Luke, and that's not the point, but it's God's healing, like God's healing. And that's what, when we shared on Thanksgiving, like, what are you thankful for? I'm like, God's healing, because.
And you have proof of that. You've been
Yes,
recording this podcast since before you started dating Joel. You
that's
can
true.
go back and listen to your self-talk, and I can attest to that
Yeah,
you
it's
and I
not-
we had both found a lot of healing
yes,
before we found. Now, honestly, dating again was a whole different layer of
Yeah.
healing, because
Yeah.
it was, it's like, okay, like I'm cool, but now I need to learn how to like bring somebody else into my world,
Right.
and of course it doesn't mean that there's not pain still, but anyway,
Yeah.
so continue. I just wanted
No,
to
just
interject that.
yeah, that it's God's healing that has me here today, and it's not by my own strength. It is, which we will talk about in another episode, like a lot about what you do with the time that you have. So I have done a lot of, grief counseling, regular counseling, grief books. Like when I was a new widow, I just couldn't get enough grief books. Like I just devour them because I was like, oh, somebody gets it. Like, and so I would read them, I'd be like, somebody understands what's happening in my heart. But, I'm so thankful for where I am today. And I would never want to go back to those first holidays, but I want to offer you encouragement that the first holidays to me are the hardest ever. And then it gets better. But it's not just about the time, it's what you do with that time in between the holidays. But as far as I know, for both of us, that was the worst it ever was the very first time.
Absolutely.
Because it's like, wow, we're not used to we've never had a holiday apart. So this feels really strange. Yeah. So what are some of your thoughts? I just kind of had a whole bunch all over the place.
No, yeah, I remember it was so hollow. It felt
That's a good word. Yeah.
It felt like things were never going to be right again.
Yeah.
All of a sudden this holiday, because I'm Mr. Christmas too, all of a sudden this
Yeah.
holiday that I loved so much, that felt like this absolutely magical time of year for me, felt like didn't even matter. And I know it's not about, you know what I mean, but like our hearts were ripped out. And
Yep.
So, it is just interesting what time can do. But yes, like you said, and we will touch on that. We're going to do an episode about that, but it's what you do with the time.
Yeah.
And so, not to get into all of that right now. But you dove into, well, first of all, I'd like to say that something that you and I did that is the number one thing by far that anybody should do that's going through grief. And this is why I feel like we've had what you might call successful grief journeys, is we leaned on Christ.
Yeah.
We leaned on Christ. And I remember being like, you said I could cast my burdens upon you. I'm casting this on you.
Yeah.
I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want it, and I, it wasn't like instantaneous, of course, but looking back, I felt like he took it from me.
Yeah.
I felt
100%.
like he took the burden from me. He took he made the pain manageable. It still hurts. I mean, my eyes are glossed over right now because I'm remembering how much it hurt.
Yeah.
Losing Lacey. And that was I knew she was going to heaven.
Right.
And I still was broken when she passed,
Yeah.
But it's interesting because I remember, it's totally off topic, but just
okay.
It was a very beautiful moment for me because I was so stressed out and so panicked when I just was having a hard time accepting, like, this is it. She's done taking medicine. She's gonna go to heaven. She wants to leave Earth, and not because she had given up, but because she just wasn't. She was ready, and she understood deeply where she was going, and she was ready for that.
Right.
That being said, I remember praying to God and begging, like, God, just tell me what to do. Just show me, like, what do I do? How do I save her? How do I save her? And I just felt this peace come over me because I felt like I felt like what he not audibly spoke to me, but just the voice that like came over my heart. You know, we all know how the Lord can speak to you.
Yeah.
Is when it's something, when an idea pops in your head that you're like, that wasn't my thought. I feel like I know it's the Spirit speaking to me. And it's what I heard come over my heart was, I don't need you. I don't need you to save Lacey. I don't need doctors. I don't need medicine. I don't need, if it's not her time, I will snap my finger and her cancer will be gone. I don't need you. And it wasn't any like arrogant or mean kind of feeling, but it was just like, do you not know who I am? It was kind of that kind of feeling, and it was just this, it gave me this peace where I was like, you're right. Like, I can let go of this burden I feel, or this responsibility I feel to save her.
Yeah.
And for me, that was massive, because that had been what my whole life was geared around for the previous 14 months was, I need to save her. I need to save her. I need to save her. And I tried. I mean, I tried so hard. I almost died like trying to help her. And so anyways, wow, that was way off topic. Sorry.
Okay, that's what we do.
But I thought of that when I thought about how we like leaned into Christ, and how that he just kind of was there for me in an unbelievable way. And so that is my encouragement. More important than any of this holiday or anything we're talking about, you lean into Christ, you lean into God. When you're going through this in the beginning, you do it when it's hard, you do it when you don't want to, you still lean into God, lean into God, lean into God. But we've discussed, we have episodes about that. But I feel like that's a powerful truth. So anyways, now getting back to it. So yes, the holidays were devastating the first time around. Like I said, hollow and just sick. And I hated it. I hated it. And, my brother, was just awesome. And he tried to give, my kids and I a really good Christmas. And, and I bought a bunch of stuff for the kids, but it was also, it was like weird that like there just wasn't Lacey to buy gifts for anymore. And then there was, and then all of a sudden, Lacey was really, really good at remembering to get everybody a Christmas present. She'd start in September or whatever, or August, or gosh, honestly, like she'd get, after Christmas ended, she'd start shopping for next Christmas.
So
throughout the year, she just had, little gifts put aside for certain people. And that was just a natural skill she had. I'm not like that. I'm like, and I try so hard every year. I tell myself like, next year, I'm going to start shopping in October. It doesn't have, December 15th rolls around every year and I'm in a panic, and like, that's not fun, And I hated that I lost that in addition to everything else, like I'm sure somebody relates to that in some degree, like, maybe women that loved having, and obviously women are capable of getting up on a ladder, but everybody I think knows what I mean, that men generally do certain things, women generally do certain other things. But it doesn't mean that women are incapable or anything, but generally speaking, there's a lot of women that are like, dang it, like he used to hang the Christmas lights. I love having Christmas lights up, but I now realize that they just magically appeared after Thanksgiving. And now I realize that if I want Christmas lights up, I need to get up on the ladder and hang them, or hire somebody to hang them. And so there's a lot of people that might understand what I'm saying, that like, just logistically, like the holidays are not the same. If he or she had a signature dish that she cooked for Thanksgiving, now you're trying to recreate that, or you don't want to, and so there's a lot of, I mean, I can keep going on that, but I went off on a tangent, so I'm going to turn it back to you, and then I'll pick up where I left off. But what else do you want to add on?
Well, I wanted to talk about something that helped us. It's kind of, I talked a little bit before about like starting new traditions, because we were very big on like the Christmas traditions. We had all the places we would go. One of them was the Queen Anne Victorian Mansion, which is where Luke and I got married. So that was one of our big traditions, but we have not been back. I haven't wanted to. I think I could go there now and be okay. Like if the kids wanted to go there, I'd be like, yeah, we could do that. But we started, like we did some of the same ones. And we did like the same ornaments. I was with several widows the other day, or a couple of weeks ago, or Stacy, who was a guest, we were with a couple of her friends who were also widows, and they were talking, it was one of them, it was about to be her first Christmas, and she was like, I'm not bringing out the ornaments. Like everyone does it differently, but we
Sure.
did the same ornaments, and then we added, like I did like a memory one to Luke. I can't remember. It says something about someone we love is in heaven. I don't remember exactly. So I still bought him one. So I think it's a mixture of like old and new. That's what helped me. So we kept some of the same traditions. Like we still go, like the kids, they still like go in their pajamas and we go through a drive-through and get a milkshake and we drive around and look at lights. We still do that. So we kept that tradition, but then we added some different ones, and like going to different places, like I said, to get the Christmas tree, and just finding new things to do. Like we don't have to do exactly the same thing. And so that's been huge for my kids to understand too. Like it's not going, so maybe even talking with your kids is not going to look exactly the same. Like we're going to do some different thing. I think it makes the whole feel smaller when you're doing different things. Like you're not like, oh, this is right where we did this. So I think it's, for me,
Right.
a combo, doing some of the same things, some different things. Like we still do, like we always do Cinnabons on Christmas morning, and we still do that.
Nice. Yeah, you can't let go of that.
No, they're too good.
That's just crazy.
So
talk.
good. That is crazy talk. But then we've added some different things. And then obviously as we blend families, that's going to be even more traditional. This Christmas, just like Thanksgiving, we're going to both be at our homes with our kids from college. So we won't be together this year, but next year we'll be married, obviously. And so we'll be blending our traditions probably. So I just think that for us, that was very, very healing to just let the kids know we're going to do some things differently. And that really, really helped us. Something that
I like that.
Yeah, we just completed this year. So it was always Luke's thing to put the star on top of the tree. It's like this tradition. Take a picture.
Because he was super tall, right?
No, he was on a ladder to do it.
Oh, really? Wait, but Luke was super tall, right?
He was 6 feet. So like, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, compared to you.
Yeah, coming from my world, that's like a giant. Like,
okay.
Green giant.
I mean, we would get these tall 9-foot, 10-foot tree, really tall trees. So he would get on a chair or whatever.
Okay,
but anyways,
okay.
The point is that was his thing. So then the first year was like, all the kids kind of were like, well, I want to do it. So I was like, each year we'll take a turn. So this is our 3rd year. So Hayden did it the first year, Haley did it, and then Peyton did it this year. And it was kind of cool.
Nice.
Just
That's cool.
completing that tradition. Let me take a picture of you as you put the star on. And so they've all had their turn. So maybe even things like that, something that might have belonged to your spouse that your kids could take over. What else have we done like that? I don't know.
That's good. And we, we're not expecting any of you to be able to do this stuff on the first year. This is possibly projecting into the future.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I just wanted to add that real quick that, if somebody doesn't feel like ready to do that.
Yeah. Or I have a friend who didn't, well, her husband died on Christmas Eve.
Ooh.
So the next year she didn't even do Christmas, and that's okay. Like everybody has their own way. Like it wasn't, it was too painful to do that. So you have to do what's right for you. But I know keeping things somewhat the same helps for my kids, but then adding in more things and so that's
so you guys cut down your own tree every year?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, that's awesome. Never missed a year. To ask, have you ever brought a squirrel home?
No, this is not National Lampoon.
Yes, you knew. Okay.
Of course, I know that's Luke's favorite.
That. Yeah, me too.
His favorite Christmas movie. But it's kind of cool too. Actually, something else cool happened this year.
A lot of sap, kind of full. Sorry, go ahead.
So Luke always cut down the tree, but the last year he was in too much pain, so Hayden did a lot of it, and then Hayden's kind of taken over since then. But this year I was like, Hayden's 14, like Hayden, let's let him. So Hayden taught him just like Luke taught him, and that was really cool. So we got like a video of them getting the tree down, and that's happened for other things. Like this past summer, Hayden taught Peyton how to mow the lawn, like Luke had taught him. So I'm always like, teach him how Daddy taught you.
That's cool.
And it makes him feel special. Like I'm passing this on. And then, he's like getting the same training that, Hayden got.
Yeah. From Dad.
Yeah. That's from Dad, cool. The same way. So it was really meaningful that he taught Peyton how to cut it down. And so that's
super cool. I was always all about real trees because I love the smell of them.
Yeah.
And then I got like a crazy good deal on a fake tree. And so now I'm like, oh wow, there's like no needles.
So much easier.
Like, oh my gosh, like it's crazy. like for years, like, we got real trees. And then I'm like, I swear, I feel like it was like March and I'm like still vacuuming up pine needles from
Yeah,
somewhere,
that's kind of the
I'm like, oh, look
bummer.
in the couch cushion. There's like pine needles here somehow,
Yes, they
but you
kind
can
of,
make pine needle tea. So
you could. They kind of last forever, but we like the smell of it and
yes, I
all
do
of
too,
all
honestly.
all that stuff. But what about you? Did you keep your same traditions, do new ones? What did you do at
Well,
first, or what do you do now?
so
I
it
mean,
was no, it's just totally different because also I moved to Tennessee and
yes.
a lot of our traditions involved getting together with Lacey's family. And
Oh,
there was
right.
Lacey's grandma's famous strawberry jelly or
Uh-uh.
jam. I'm not sure if it's jelly or jam. But and everybody would just like wanted that every year. And we'd all get together and everyone would dress up and we'd get together. At first it was like at her, it was at her grandparents' house for years. And we had a lot of traditions that changed anyways,
Yeah.
moving here. But one of the things that this so no, I guess to answer your question, no, I don't. I mean, we still are trying to find a place to go look at Christmas lights. There's actually, I don't know if you saw my Facebook post. There's the
Mhm.
place in Louisville, Kentucky. That's it's called I think it's called Mega Caverns.
Oh, I didn't see that. That's cool.
Louisville Mega Caverns, and it's 17 miles driving in an underground cavern that they deck
Cool.
out with like
Oh my
millions and
gosh, you got to
millions
do
of
that.
Christmas lights.
That
So
sounds
yeah, it's like
amazing.
4 hours from my house, but I'm planning on doing that.
That would be so fun.
Yeah, it seems super cool. So no, I mean, we are, one of our main traditions was we would like kind of like what you mentioned, we would get hot chocolates.
Yeah.
And and there was this neighborhood by my old house called Bainbridge, and
Mhm.
they did the whole um all the houses were in sync with the music, with the
Oh, I
radio
love those.
channels,
Yes.
so everybody pulls into the neighborhood and everybody shuts off their lights. And well, for me,
Yeah.
I've had my last few cars have had like the moonroof.
Mhm.
And so like I let my, I bring a little, towel and I cover my center console, but I let my kids stand up and stare out the
Yes.
moonroof. And Alexis she loves just saying Merry Christmas to everybody. She feels like she's in a
Cute.
parade.
Love it.
So we do we have a tradition of going and looking at Christmas lights, and I love that. But something that I would like to forewarn people about that have little kids, that this is your first Christmas on your own. This might sound silly, but remember, there's nobody that's going to fill your stocking. And
Yep.
I know that's super weird, but I remember that hit me and I didn't even process it. But I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm filling up my kid's stocking and I'm even making a stocking for my brother. But like I have this stocking, like I bought nice new embroidered stockings. That was one of the
Mhm.
things I did, after
I did
Lacey
that
died.
too. Yeah.
And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is so weird. Like, what about my stocking? And then
Yeah.
so I remember asking, and I said this in our last one, but in our last holiday one, I asked my daughter, it's like, hey, do you guys want to, you want me to give you guys some money and you guys can get some stuff for my stocking? And she's like, no thanks. And I'm like, okay. So
Yeah.
I had to stuff my own stocking. And honestly, like it's such a weird thing, but that was totally like a grief thing for me, as I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
because Lacey used to put all this stuff in my stockings that was cool, and I didn't know what was in there, And obviously, Christmas isn't about getting stuff,
But
but
it's fun.
it's fun, and
Yeah.
it's the realization. It's one of those things that has changed, and you realize it at weird timing sometimes. I'm like, oh, like yeah, let's do a big Christmas dinner like we always do. And then I'm like, oh, that means I need to make a big Christmas dinner by
Yeah.
myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like obvious stuff, but it's those things that, or like for me, Lacey used to watch all these Christmas movies with me that I liked.
Mm-hmm.
She liked them too, but she wasn't like I was about them. I wanted
Yeah.
to National Lampoon's happened, the Elf always,
Oh yeah,
and
that's one of
so
our songs.
she would sit there and watch them with me. And it's weird to like now watch them by myself because my kids aren't old enough to watch
Yeah.
National Lampoons. I don't want to
But
explain
maybe
what.
Elf.
Yeah, they've watched Elf with me, and that one's fine. I
Yeah.
don't remember anything off the top of my head that was
No,
bad
it's a
in that
good.
one or anything. And there's nothing bad about National Lampoon, but there's just some things I don't want to
There's a
explain to
lot of
them.
F words, a lot, because
Oh, you're wait.
it's, yes, I promise.
Oh,
because
yes,
one
Bing
year,
Crosby. Yeah, I
one year we were
remember.
like, Luke and I were like, let's show it to the kids. It's not that bad. And we started watching. We're like, oh yeah, there's a lot of F words. When you watch with your kids, you notice it, like
Yeah,
a
right.
lot. So that was what we noticed, because it's PG, I think it's like PG-13, but in the 80s, which was like R now.
Right. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so there is a lot.
Which is funny
Um,
because so many things have gone the other way.
right.
You
Yeah.
know, like anyways, but yeah, so that's a good point. I can remember a lot of parts from that movie that I don't want my kids to see.
Yes. Yeah.
They're just too
Definitely.
young, you know. I don't want to be
Well,
explaining certain things either.
right. So
I don't want to
talking about,
explain why he's married and yet he's looking out the window and
oh yeah,
imagining a woman in a
Uh-huh.
bikini in his
Yeah,
pool,
that's
you know,
right.
or whatever.
Yeah,
Like, what is he
exactly.
doing? I'm like,
I don't know.
they're way too young, you know.
Yeah.
That won't be until
Um,
far later.
Speaking of movies, so I love Hallmark movies, like the cheesy Christmas.
Mm.
I mean, I love them. I do this every Christmas, buy the Hallmark Now channel. You can watch all of them. And I've noticed that almost every one of them, somebody's a widower or widower. Every one of them, like literally,
Really?
oh yeah, so and so died. And sometimes the feelings are accurate, but most of the time it's totally not. And so it's just an interesting little fact if you ever watch
You need
Hallmark
to
movies.
call Hallmark and tell them what
Be
time
like,
it
you
is.
guys got it wrong. And it's a lot of times it's like years later, and like I'm like, whoa, they must not have put in the work to heal, because they're like super sensitive about everything. And like, yeah, so that's just another side note. I've definitely noticed that this year. Like, oh my goodness, another widow, another widower.
Yeah,
Because it
wow.
works for the Hallmark story, you know, it's always a love story, and a lot of, almost every time. Like I'm
Well, isn't
watching
that
another one.
funny that like our life is such a popular narrative that
Yeah.
people choose for like terribly
For
sad things?
Yes, they know, like, oh, that'll be good. Like it's
Yeah. Oh,
usually,
that's sad. Let's do that. And you're like,
it's
that's my
usually
life.
like they've never experienced love since their loved one passed away, and they're finally taking that chance. But I mean, some of it's, you know, okay, realistic about how you feel. But anyways, that's just like a
That's great.
fun little side note, is there's a lot of Hallmark movies about widows and widowers.
Yes.
So that's just a side note. That's not
Yes, in
really,
case y'all didn't know.
in case you didn't know and you want to see it and be like, and yell at the TV, like, that's not how it is. Like, no. But let's see, what else about holidays? I don't know.
You know,
Anything?
well, one thing that I think is that we should touch on, because we've talked about, and if anybody wants to listen, you can go back and listen to our episode,
Yeah.
Surviving the Holidays. But that being said, like now we're in this very different place, right?
Mhm.
So it might be kind of encouraging for people to see
True.
how much things can change. So we had year one. Year one was terrible. Year one sucked.
Yeah.
Year two was different, but it was better.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I actually started feeling like, okay, I think I'm gonna get to a point where I really enjoy Christmas again. And honestly, I wanted to. Like
Mhm.
last year, I wanted to enjoy Christmas. It wasn't the same. It was still very much like, man, this just feels so different without Lacey.
Yeah.
So now, we have somebody in our lives that we love, and
Yep.
we experience that again. We now get to enter the holiday seasons again. What it feels like, you know, and I know you and I have talked about this, it feels like God is providing restoration
Yes.
in our lives. And and you know, it's like we were ready for that. We were pouring into God for a long time. We dealt with long seasons of loneliness. So I was very receptive to the idea. Also, my kids are so young, like they need a mom, you know.
Yeah.
And of course I want it to be Lacey, but that's not an option.
Right.
So you know, so I was open to the idea of like finding someone, and now you and I get to go through the holidays in a very different capacity.
Yeah.
So now, that all being said, that sort of preface that I wanted to like set the stage, if you will.
Oh, good job.
How much I was gonna say how much more better.
How much more better is your
And
grammar?
it's funny because I say that jokingly all the time. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's more better. But I actually almost said it right there as like real verbiage. How would you describe what you feel inside now about the holidays? Do you feel lots of excitement that Christmas is coming?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, how would you describe it now?
Well, if I was gonna
More than just
good. If I was gonna physically like be in the same place as Joel, I would be more excited. Let me go back to Thanksgiving. I did experience a little grief because one, I think about what Luke and I would do on Thanksgiving, and then I'm like with this man that I love, that I'm gonna marry in 3.5 months, but I'm not with him. And so I experienced grief because I'm like, life's too short to not be with the one you love. Like, I want to be with him, and it's just a season. He's like, these are the last holidays that we're not going to spend together. Like we can get through it. But yeah, no, I'm totally excited about, it means family. It means Hayden coming home from college. It means family movies, and we make Chex Mix, and we make cookies, and we do gingerbread houses, like all the fun things. So I'm totally excited, and I don't feel dread. I mean, I think that's kind of what you feel in the first year, at least. Yeah, I did, dreading them because it's a bigger event that you're going to miss your loved one. But now I don't feel that at all. Like, I feel totally excited about just having this time with my kids and making it special for them. And maybe that's the only thing that, if you have not even young kids, my kids are teenagers, one's an adult, but if you have kids, it might be about making it special. Even adult kids, you still want to make Christmas special for them. So maybe that's what keeps you going. On the stockings, my mom has filled my stocking for years because Luke just was too sick. And so she's continued. She's like, well, this is probably my last year. Hopefully Joel will do a good job next year. Filling it, no pressure. But
just saying, Joel, my mom used to always fill the bottom of the stocking with diamonds. I'm just throwing that out there. Saying. And cash.
But I want to encourage an idea. If you are like, that's really going to make me sad to not have anything in my stocking, ask a family member or good friend. I guarantee they would be happy to do it. Because that would, like, what my mom does is she just like wraps the presents and then I stick it. Well, now Haley does it. Like, when they believed in Santa, we had to make sure that, they would believe in it. But Haley fills it now. She'll be like, hey, can you put this in your mom's stocking? But it just meant so much to me just to have her do it, so that it's not filled, and it wasn't about what's in it. It's the point. And so that's an idea for you, is ask someone that would do that for you. The people in your tribe, like we talked about, calling your tribe, those kind of people. I guarantee, like, especially your first Christmas, people don't know what to do. They don't know how to help. So you could tell them specifically, this would mean a lot to me if you could fill my stocking.
Gosh, well, I even remember that first year. I was like, I mean, I didn't actually ask anybody this, but I wanted to ask people, like, can you please like shop for gifts for my kids? Like, I didn't even have I didn't want to take their Christmas away because of what I was feeling, but I just didn't have the energy. I didn't have the desire, the will, like anything to
but now
shop for gifts,
On the other side of it, if you had a newly widowed friend who asked you to do it, wouldn't you do it in a heartbeat?
Oh, of course.
Right.
Yeah,
so there's people out there, if you're newly widowed, they want to help you. They don't know how. So you have to tell them, could you please shop for my kids? Here's a list. I'll give you the money. I just need you to, shop for them. Could you like fill my stocking? Like, be specific. These people want to help you. They don't know what to do. And so you giving them specific ideas for the holidays would be helpful. And then something else I forgot, we started this tradition the first year that Luke was gone. We, on Christmas morning, say a happy memory about Luke. And so we've done it the last 2 Christmases, like while we're eating our cinnamon rolls. And it doesn't have to be about Christmas. I tell them it can be about anything. So I've learned like new memories that they've shared. So that's been really special. So that could be something, and like keep them alive by talking to them. Don't be afraid to mention their name, say their name, talk about them. I know you do this too, like memories all the time with my kids, like constantly. I'm always saying like, Daddy said that. Okay. Random thought. We were talking about how Peyton's shoes smelled today. And he's a 14-year-old boy, okay? And then I was like, Haley, do you remember that Daddy used to say your feet were rotten? He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, because he always said that to me after I go running and my shoes smelled. And he said that your feet were just like mine. Anyways, the point is, we talk about him all the time. If something comes up like, hey, do you guys remember that? And that one they did not remember. But just like oh, your dad used to like this. I mean, that's like literally almost every day there's something like, oh, daddy liked that. And it doesn't hurt anymore. It's just like part of our life. And we don't stop doing it because Joel's here. Like when he's here, we still say stuff, and he's good. He
Yeah.
wants to know about Joel, about Luke. And so we still do that. So that's, just some ideas, like keep the memory alive. And maybe you want to start that on Christmas morning, sharing a
Yeah.
memory. And we do that sometimes.
Their name,
other
say
times.
their name.
Say their name. I think it's say my name, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but
that worked. That
wouldn't have worked.
That was a good widow song. Say their name, say their name. You're acting kind of shady. That doesn't work. People act kind of shady.
Yeah, we'll have to work on the lyrics and
We'll have to come back to you
week.
with that one.
Something that I thought about a minute ago is somebody, just for the sake of her privacy, I won't mention her name, but one of our listeners commented on one of her posts recently. So I don't know how much of a good job I'm doing by keeping it private, but
it's on a post. It's all good.
Yeah. So, but she mentioned how that she's been listening to the holiday episodes again. And, she's having a much tougher time, but also how she skips over our dating episodes. And I thought that was very insightful.
Yep.
For you and I, to like, something Michelle and I always try to do, but you have to understand we're, 2.5 years out. Yeah. So, for us, it's kind of hard to always remember perfectly that everybody is not where we are. Like that some of you just lost your spouses.
Yeah.
Or, it's been less than a year, let's say. And so, obviously we don't want to come across insensitive or anything. And, but that being said, maybe this time next year, your heart will change. And just because and I just wanted to encourage that just because you don't, of course you don't have those desires in your heart right now. That makes sense. But I just don't want you to think that like your life is over, because I remember having that feeling when I thought like just nobody would ever compete with Lacey, and nobody does. Lacey was 1 in a billion. But that being said, it doesn't mean that you can't find happiness with somebody else.
Yeah.
But also, in those beginning stages, one of the most devastating things to me that made me feel like my life was over is that I was never going to find somebody to love me the way she loved me again.
Right.
And so I just want to encourage those of you that are, more towards the beginning, that just because you feel that way right now, it doesn't mean that in a year from now, you're still going to feel that way.
Right.
Or 2 years from now, or whatever it might be. But because we, like I've mentioned several times, we can see the ages of our audience. Most of you are well within, all of you, honestly, but let's just say most of you are well within the age to meet somebody again and get married again. So a lot can change with time. But like, we're going to do an episode on it, but it's, you got to make choices to, pursue positive things. Like Michelle has invested a lot of time in going to counseling and reading books and going to courses and grief classes. And so, if people want to, bash you, Michelle, on TikTok saying like, oh, there's no way you could be, but like you invested, like you earned that, and of course, praying to God constantly for him to, reconcile, work out the things in your heart. And so anyways, that's just what I would like to encourage all of you, especially those of you that are in the beginning, that this is maybe, going to be your first Christmas, or even if it's your 10th Christmas and you still just don't feel ready for it. I want to really encourage you to lean into Christ, pray, go to him, and just talk to him. Let him be, we're his bride.
Yeah.
And so treat him like he's, your spouse, I guess. And I don't know if that's the right terminology, but you know what I mean, and like, go to him and just lean into him, pour into him. And, you will see things start to happen in your heart. You will feel revival start to spark. And gosh, what a beautiful thing. What an absolutely beautiful thing to start feeling life again after
Yeah.
you've been through so much devastation and horror and all the hollow, empty, horrible things that you have felt. When you start to feel that, as you've put it, Michelle, so eloquently in the past, like that, it used to be all rain clouds. Can you
Yeah.
explain that? Like,
Yeah,
again?
like in the beginning when you have grief, it's like every day is like cloudy and rainy. You can't see any sun, you're crying every day. And then you start, as the days go on, you start seeing a little bit of sunshine, and that means like you might not have cried all day. And then it keeps going to where it's more sun with some clouds, and eventually you have a lot of sunny days. Like I feel like that's where we're both at now.
And I love that. And that analogy is so true. It is so
Mhm.
true. And it doesn't mean that I can't work myself into, I could go sit in my closet right now and start weeping over how much I
Right.
miss Lacey. And any one of you listening could do that over your spouse as
Yeah.
well. But after you've been through what we've been through, and for the first time, when you start experiencing that sunshine again,
Mhm.
don't let guilt take that away from you.
Oh, for
I know this
sure.
has nothing to do with the holidays, but like just if these holiday seasons, if you start feeling some joy, you see a holiday movie and it makes you happy, takes you back to your childhood, whatever it might be, that we all just, for me, it's that the Savior was born. Christmas
Mhm.
is magical to me. And I didn't follow my own advice on this. I felt guilt for feeling any kind of joy at all. But don't let guilt rob you from any amount of joy that you might
Mhm.
feel, because you've been through enough.
Yeah.
Don't force yourself to go through more because you feel like you're supposed to.
Mhm.
Anyways, that's all I
That's
have to
good.
say about that.
All right, Forrest. No, I
Thank
think that's
you.
good. I think that we covered a lot,
Yep.
and what you feel you can heal. So
Yep.
don't hold back the feelings. Like if you need to cry, no matter where you're at, do it. Like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, when you said like we could all cry in a second, I was like, yeah, turn on some Enya, look at some old pictures. I'll be crying in like 30 seconds flat. Sail away, sail, all the
Sail away, sail away.
or some Celine Dion. Turn on Celine Dion.
Isn't she the one? Now, I know who Celine Dion is, but didn't she sing the main song from Titanic?
Yes. But there's
Yeah.
also a song. I think a friend sent it to me. There's a song called The Lover That I Lost. I used to always listen to that right away, like when Luke died, and it's all about the lover that I lost, and it makes me really sad.
Is she widowed?
No, but it's actually, I think, talking about somebody that they broke up, but I always listened to it. Yeah, during that time period. Anyways, we can all, get ourselves back into crying if we wanted to.
We could work ourselves into a funk.
Yeah, another thing that was kind of interesting. I actually showed Joel part of Luke's celebration of life. I was looking for something on my old computer, and I was like, oh, here's the video. And so, I was showing him with like my phone, and so he's watching it through that way, and it made him emotional. He watched my speech, and he's like, I fell in love with you even more. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, just what you've been through, and like how you're already persevering. I look back at that 2 months, let's say May, June, July, 3 months after he died, I'm giving this speech and I'm happy. Like I'm joyful. Yeah, there's this one part, like I cry some, but I'm in his graveside service in June. No, I was not in a good place. But this in August, I'm like, that is amazing. And that is God, totally, to be able to heal me this much within a few months. And anyways, it was just cool watching that with him. Like I was crying a little bit. And then he was like, and it is weird to me that you had this whole life before me. And that's what I've said to him before. Like, it's just a different feeling than when you get married when you're young and you don't have a life before, and so it's just kind of a strange feeling. Anyways, that was just a side note.
No, that's great. We are, they were our everything. Right. And now we're starting over at, about to be 43. Next
me
weekend,
at 29,
actually, and you're 29.
I'll still be 29 when you're 43. So
I'll you've been 29 for a while. I'm just wondering if you're ever going to turn 30.
No, I don't even turn 30.
I don't turn 30. It's not what I do.
I don't turn 30. I am forever 29.
Forever 29.
Well, I'm going to tell the story one more time. I know you've heard it, but our listeners might not have how I got to the 29 thing. So that's something I've always said, and the kids have always said that. So I was Peyton's kindergarten teacher. And that day it was my birthday and I was having the kindergartners guess how old I was. And I think I was like actually like 35 or it was a while ago. Yeah, because he's 14 now. Well, and I'm 20. Whoa.
Yeah, whoa.
Never mind. Anyways.
Edit this out.
Edit that out. So they're all like writing numbers and I'm putting them on the board. And I was like, no, I'm actually this number. And he gets so mad. He's like, you said you're 29. Like he literally was like so upset that he's like, you lied to me. I thought you were 29. Like he got really upset about it. And then we had to talk about it later after school. Like,
oh my gosh, that is so funny.
I am 29, but not really. It's just something I say.
I'm 29-ish.
That I'm always 29. And I like to throw myself birthday parties. I still do that. And I always and I usually do like a Facebook invite. And I'm like, Michelle's 29th birthday again.
That's awesome.
And, yeah, 29 plus, a year or two.
Yeah. So, wow. That's pretty
fun.
Cool.
Anyways, good times. All right. Are we good to wrap it on up, or you got anything else you want to say?
There's something I wanted to say and now I do not recall.
That's why you write things down. That's what
I know. Writing. I'm not smart like you. I don't have a pen and paper over here.
Oh, I can't water, I can't.
And I got my phone out of arm's reach. Okay, this isn't what I wanted to say, but I'm pretty stoked to say that I passed another part of my GED.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. I took science without studying and I passed it. And, wow. Oh my gosh, it was so hard. It was really hard.
Like chemistry kind of stuff?
It was like, I mean, honestly, a lot of it was like, I had to just use a lot of deductive reasoning to because fortunately it was multiple choice.
Yeah.
But anyway, so
that's awesome.
Super excited that now I am halfway to getting my high school diploma.
That's so awesome.
Woo! Yay! Has nothing to do with the holidays or not that there's anybody else listening that cares about that.
No, they do. Everybody does.
But I remembered. Hold on. Oh, okay. So that's what I was going to say. I was going to say that my mystery girl and I.
Mystery girl.
Mystery girl. Hey, girl. Hey.
Every time.
So her and I also watched each other's celebration of life for our spouse. And I totally relate to what Joel was saying because as I watched her give her speech, and I haven't talked to her about it in a while, but she did say that it her feelings for me increased watching it.
Yeah.
But I don't remember exactly what she said, but I remember how I felt.
Yeah.
And I remember watching this amazing girl walk up there and struggle through, and I watched her kids give their eulogies and it was just so heartbreaking. But they all did such a great job. And then she went up there and gave tribute to her husband. And oh gosh, it made me it gave me this this desire to take care of her in the way that he was. Like I just felt this I kind of have this this feeling that when I get to heaven, I want him to shake my hand and say thank you. And but I remember her watching his celebration of life really gave me a lot of strong feelings for her. But for the same reasons, like knowing what she had been through was it's just I don't know, I just had this deep understanding and connection with it, and like I just understood how she felt when she was up there. So it has nothing to do with the holidays, but I did remember what I wanted to say. So no, that was it. Just that we want you all to remember that we are praying for you. And sorry, Chris, I'm trying to stop saying so much, but it's just impossible. I just can't do it. I just can't do it. I'm just not a great public speaker, apparently.
Fine.
But we want you all to remember that we do pray for you, and we're hoping that you get through this holiday season and that you do experience some form of joy and thankfulness, and that you do get to see a little bit of sunshine. And if you do, hold on to that. That's all
That's
I have to
good.
say about that. Life is like a box of chocolates.
Sure
You
is.
never know what you're gonna get.
All
Anyways.
right. Thanks for that.
Should I pray or should I
Yes.
quote Forrest Gump more?
No, I
'Cause I
think
could
you
talk
should.
about all the different ways we can make shrimp.
Yes.
If you guys could see the look on Michelle's face
What?
right now of just sheer disappointment.
But there's no disappointment. Just like, uh-huh.
Like, yes. All right, get your joke over with. Let's go.
No, your
I'm
jokes
just
are
kidding.
great. Your jokes are
I'm
great.
just they're a good start.
It's a good story.
All right. So I'm gonna pray and then do the thing.
Yes.
Lord, I'd just like to thank you so much for sharing with us your joy, that may we recognize that whenever we experience any joy at all, it's your joy. And so I pray that over everybody here, Lord. I pray that you would give their lives some sort of joy, something supernatural, that they know it's you. And they know that it doesn't make sense that they feel the joy that they feel in their heart. But I pray that you would give it to them. We love you, and we just know that the kingdom is the big picture. And I pray that you would keep all of our eyes on the kingdom and you, and that you would be the most important thing, and that we would all be able to live our lives as a sacrifice to you and your kingdom, and that but that also that you would comfort us and hold us and shelter us through our grief and our sadness. I pray that we remember what it means that the Savior of the world was born as we enter this beautiful Christmas season, whether it's Halloween, Christmas, or Thanksgiving, Christmas. We just thank you for everything you do for us, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. It took me a minute. I thought you were just saying holidays, and then I was like, oh,
oh, he's being a dork. I like to make God laugh too, you know?
Right. I get what
he's
you're
like,
saying.
why did I make you this way?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. It's your fault, dude. you made me this way.
Well, if you like this podcast, give us a little 5 stars. Hey, and somebody did review us lately.
No
so
way.
That was cool. I sent it to you. It was like
oh, that
weeks.
one. Okay.
Like
yeah, that was like 3 weeks ago. Or
okay, whatever. It's
sorry, I thought you meant like another one.
Recently. No, I haven't checked in a little bit. You can rate and review us. If you want to be a guest, we will eventually get back to doing
yes. Sorry.
We do have a list, but you can reach out to us. We do. It's just our lives are like so busy right now. Sometimes fitting a guest in is hard, but we will eventually.
Michelle and I can barely get our schedules to line up.
Right. So then, having another one. Yeah, because we have different time zones. You had to move to a different time zone, make it a little more difficult.
You know, a little bit of it is you're getting married too. That occupies some of your time.
Well, yes.
Just some.
Like it's
and then you had a job, and then I'm studying and all this. So we've just been busy. We've been busy.
Which side note,
it's hard to coordinate a guest.
I forgot to say this. So tomorrow's my official last day in 3rd grade. Woo-hoo. So excited.
Nice.
So last week, or like the last time we had school, and then there was a week off for Thanksgiving. It was so sweet. Like that one of the parents had reached out to everyone, and they made me a gift basket with like all kinds of gift cards. And it was just so sweet. Like it was the end of the year, you know?
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then I'm making them all cards. I have to finish them tonight. And then tomorrow I told the other teacher, like, I want the last half hour just to talk to them. And just like, I wanted to just write positive things, because positive words can do so much for kids, especially. And like to have these little cards that they could keep forever. Like I'm just trying to write positive to each one of them, what I see in them. And so I want to take some time at the end of the day to not only give them the cards, but I'm going to tell them they're all invited to the wedding. I made a decision. They're all invited. So
nice.
It's going to be super, super fun. And then I was talking to their teacher about once the invitations come in, I'll come back into class and give it to them. And they'll be
that's
excited.
Cool.
So it's, this was a challenging job, but I'm thankful I did it, because I know what I don't want to do. And another episode, I'll get into like kind of where my career is going, but it is more into helping people through grief. So anyways.
Seems like a natural fit.
Yeah, it does. All right. I think that's it. Well, thanks everybody for listening, and we'll talk to you probably in a couple weeks, because we both might be busy this coming weekend. But
are we? Yeah.
I'm gonna be in LA, but not California, Louisiana.
The other LA.
yeah, which so weird. I just have to say this. So, Joel and I have been doing this like a little over a year, traveling, blah, blah, blah. This is the last visit because the next time that he comes here, he's moving here. So exciting.
That's so encouraging though, and
So
hopeful.
exciting.
Like,
Yes.
that's so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it'll be our last
super
visit.
cool.
And then it'll be like he's moving to the area. So I'm very, very excited. So anyways,
Mystery girl, you hear that? You got to move to Tennessee.
Tennessee.
It's a little inside joke we have.
Okay, well, I'm sure she's laughing.
Yeah, I'm sure she's the only one. That's okay. It was
Tennessee. Okay. Anyways, we'll talk to you guys later. Have a great night.
Bye.
Day,
God bless
whatever
you.
it is. Bye.